The telescope, the stars are going to move across the sky, and we're not going to be able to get a good crystal clear picture. So, clock drive on, telescope then follows the stars, which gives us dots. If we didn't have a clock drive, the telescope sat here, stars move across the glass plate, we get lines for our stars. So clock drive is very important. That's on, we got the film in. Next thing we probably want to do is open up the dome. Pretty darn important, all right? Actually, it's probably really important, because if we don't open up the dome, are we going to find Pluto? You find the cockroach again, yeah. So we gotta make sure we open up the dome. Now, does this dome look like the bigger dome a little bit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Same people built it, Sykes brothers. Even after Lowell had passed away, they were still on staff here building things for Egypt. So we got the dome open, film ready, clock drive on, position the telescope in declination. Anybody remember what direction declination is? North-south. Good. All right. And of course, right ascension would then be what? East-west. Where we can move the telescope because of these big counterweights right here. All right, so looking at Lowell's calculations, Lowell says look right there. So that's where we're going to look. Now what we do is make sure the telescope's looking out of the dome, because that's pretty darn important too. You probably noticed the old wheels. Same wheels we used in the other dome. Dome sits on top of those wheels on a track. We got a motor in that glass case, drives those two belts, rotates that gear. Dome rotates like that. I like all right, so we rotate the dome where the telescope is looking out. Next thing we do, flip open the dust cover, also known as the toilet seat cover. Looks like a toilet seat cover. Now, just a little segue here. I've been giving tours for about 3.5 years now here. And I think it was like my second or third tour. I left the dust cover up the whole time while I was in here. And in the middle of my tour, this one lady goes, "Ah, typical man." Always leaving up the toilet seat. I turned bright red in the face. I didn't know what to say next, so I quietly shut the dust cover. But at least it reminds me to shut the dust cover. And I've gotten better at home, too. So, I've been telling that story ever since. But the reason why we take the dust cover off at the end of the process is because we don't want to pre-expose the glass plate to any unnecessary light. Shut off lights, flip open the dust cover, open the shutter, we're not taking a picture. But it's not a click and the picture's taken. You have to pull this out and wait. We've got about an hour, so what do you guys want to talk about? Yeah, it was 1 hour for one picture. And after that 1 hour exposure, you pull this out, put it away downstairs, grab another one, go for another hour. You're probably saying, hey, an hour, that's plenty of time to run downstairs, go to the restroom, grab a bite to eat, or maybe take a nap. There's a problem though, the clock drive. Clock drive, sometimes the gears would slip, or sometimes the gears would lock, or sometimes the drive wouldn't just track at the right rate. So during your 1 hour exposure, you would be using this guide scope. This other telescope here has crosshairs inside of it. Place the star in the center of the crosshairs, and during your 1 hour exposure, you would be looking through this telescope at that star.
Back.
Just like this. If that star moved at all, you would speed up or slow down the clock drive to compensate for any little tracking error. If there was a slight tracking error and you missed it, what would happen? You ruin your picture by getting lines. You would just wasting time and money. Another thing you have to remind yourself to do is to look up and make sure your telescope is still looking out of the dome. You have some pretty good pictures of the dome.
What chemicals were used on the front?
Oh, geez, you know?
Stump the tour guide.
Yeah, good job. Yeah, I don't know. I possibly looked that up for you somewhere, but I don't know right off the top of my head. So, good question. I think that's actually the first time I ever had that asked. Yeah, 3.5 years.
Now you know what your homework
chemicals
is.
used on the, yeah. I used to know too, but no one ever asked me, so I just took it out of my memory. So, you're up here all night long, picture after picture. You're done taking your pictures, you take them in January. You saw that dot change position, you looked at Lowell's mathematical calculations. Lowell said planet X is going to move this much in 6 days. Guess what? That object moved that much in 6 days. Clyde Tombaugh went, woo! He was stoked because he finally found it. He's been doing this for 6 months in the cold, went up to the director of the observatory, quote, "I found your planet X." The director goes, "All right, let's observe it." It was cloudy that night. Yes, the problem with astronomy right there. But the next night they got it, they observed that dot move across the sky for about a month. Why would they want to do that? Make sure. They want to make a false discovery and announcement. So they followed this object, found out that its movement and orbit are beyond Neptune. So on March 13th, 1930, they announced the discovery of planet X. Why March 13th? That would have been Lowell's 75th birthday if he was still alive. So they wanted to kind of like commemorate personally. Now about 2 weeks later, we got this email from Oxford, England. And this email, not in existence because they didn't have email back then, but we did get a telegraph from Oxford, England. We got this telegraph.